when we talk about how rap music is poisoning and dulling the minds of black people. Y'all don't want to hear that because you'll say, well, the majority of the people who buy hip hop are white. Well, the majority of people who own hip hop are white. Yet and still, they can go and cosplay as what they think we are. We're cosplaying as what they're telling us we are. Who's dumber? Hate to break it to you. Find a mirror. You tired of lies and leftovers? The Real Black Agenda is crushing 3 bestsellers list. Grab it on Amazon or hit the link in my Instagram bio at @TheBusinessBully before they try and silence it. Water is wet. The sky is blue. Megan Thee Stallion should technically be called Megan the Mayor because she's a woman, not a man. These things I thought were obvious to people. Oh, I forgot one. The hip hop industry and everything bad about it has been cultivated and created by people who do not look like us. Ice Cube said this on whatever that show is with Bill Maher, and it's not real time. He has this like mayonnaise version of Club Shay Shay he's doing, and he sits down with people. And I like Bill Maher, don't get me wrong. However, the fix has been in for a very long time. I don't know if you understand this, but what Ice Cube said was the same people who own the labels own the prisons. You don't understand how marketing works. Most people don't. As a marketer, I can tell you the easiest thing you can do to market to somebody is to not market to them at all. It's to make them think it's their idea. Just like all of a sudden, we went from having rappers talk about driving Acuras and Nissan Maximas to talking about Bentleys and Maybachs. Not to be confused with Maybachs. I still don't know what a Maybach is, but okay. Anywho and anyhow, what Ice Cube said is not wrong. I tell people all the time when people talk to me about the industry or so-called black culture, I say, do you know who won the East Coast, West Coast beef? And they'll say, well, some people say West Coast won it. Some people say the East Coast won it. Well, who do you say won it, Dave? Simple. Jimmy Iovine. Next question. Jimmy Iovine was in charge of Interscope. At one point, Jimmy Iovine had Death Row. At another point, he had Bad Boy. If anybody won from that whole situation, it's Jimmy Iovine. And I'm not singling him out. I'm giving you an example. But to continue on that particular example, Jimmy Iovine also made more money off of the sale of Beats by Dre than Dr. Dre did. Let that sink in. For every Dr. Dre or Puffy or Suge Knight, there is a Lucian Grange, a Leor Cohen, a Jimmy Iovine, a Scooter Braun. There are always people who happen to be of the palm color variety, not exclusively, but majorly speaking, from a majority standpoint, in charge of the so-called narrative. Now, I know what you're going to say, but Dave, nobody is forcing those people to rap those horrible lyrics and twerk and do all of those things. Okay, stop right there. I want you to do me a favor. I need you to go ahead, take one hand off the wheel, put the car on park, and get out and take a walk with me. What you're not understanding is that for every sexy red, there's 75 more sexy reds right behind her. But there's only a handful of a Jimmy Iovine, a Lucian Grange, a Leor Cohen, a Clive Davis. This industry has to make sure that it feeds things. The same way there's a school to prison pipeline, there's a record label to prison pipeline. It's all controlled. I talk about this in The Real Black Agenda, which is available right now at therealblackagenda.com. If you haven't gotten your copy, I don't know what you're waiting on, and especially if you order from the site, I'm going to sign it for you. But that's not the point of this. The point of this is Ice Cube's not wrong. Ice Cube told you there is a club. He ain't a part of that club. They don't want him in the club. They hate the fact that he did the big 3. They hate the fact that he continued to make moves like Friday and things of that nature, because he was putting black people in a different light. You can say whatever you want to say about Friday, but it made you focus on the fun that comes from growing up in the hood. Because I'm sorry, I grew up in the hood and I had a damn good time. I'm not going to act like between having to deal with crackheads and pimps and whores and gangsters and drug dealers that there was not fun, that I did not go out and play, that I didn't make lifelong friends. that I did not learn valuable lessons that have helped me in college, in corporate America, in the boardroom, and in business that I would have only gotten from my hood experience. Ice Cube is the first person to allow a black woman to coach a professional basketball team of men to championships. Ice Cube did that. Ice Cube put Michael Blackson in position, expanded John Witherspoon's profile, God rest his soul, constantly put people into position, and then moved himself into a Bill Cosby, not that type, but the Bill Cosby role with movies like Are We There Yet? Like, you got to think about what this man has done. Look at Barbershop. There was no movies talking about what it's like to sit in a barbershop. They, of course, whenever the politicians, when it comes to the hood, they'll get a very hand-picked crop of black men to sit down at the barbershop and have a good old time. But obviously nobody's getting a good lineup because the politicians still look like hot trash when they come out of it. But I digress. There is an industry. And if you don't own the engine, it's because you're the battery. But allow Mr. Anderson to pull you out of the matrix. Whenever one of us, whether that's a Dr. Claude Anderson, an Ice Cube, a Dave Anderson, an Umar Johnson, a David Banner, or whomever, tells you an uncomfortable truth, your butthole starts to pucker because you don't want the responsibility of being knowledgeable. Because with knowledge comes not power, but a certain level of accountability, whether you choose to cop to it, rise to it, or not. The reason that hip hop is so vulgar and so disgusting is because they got to fill those private prisons. And private prison is big business. And if you think it's not getting bigger, ask yourself what the president of the United States is doing with the president of Venezuela. Do you not realize that when they build those prisons, and I talked about this on another episode, but I need to get a little bit deeper for you. When they build those prisons in Venezuela, it automatically solves the prison overcrowding problem here in the United States because they can take American prisoners, including foundational black American prisoners, and they can send them to Venezuela because technically you're on American soil. If you go anywhere around the world and you go to an American embassy, the second you step across the threshold of that American embassy, you are standing on American soil, regardless of if it's in Africa, Ukraine, Nigeria, or Venezuela. So they're not taking you out of your country. They're physically removing you from the country and sending you to a place that is still American soil, where they don't have to give you a nice soft bed, where they don't have to give you 3 hots and a cot, where you won't be able to get conjugal visits. But again, when we talk about how rap music is poisoning and dulling the minds of black people, y'all don't want to hear that because you'll say, well, the majority of the people who buy hip hop are white. Well, the majority of people who own hip hop are white. Yet and still, they can go and cosplay as what they think we are. We're cosplaying as what they're telling us we are. Who's dumber? Hate to break it to you. Find a mirror. You've got to start looking at who's benefiting. I tell people this all the time as a business coach, as a speaker, as a best-selling author. Follow the money. The money will always tell you everything you need to know. There's 2 things on this planet that will always snitch. The money and Google. Google is a snitch. It tells all your business, but you haven't bothered to use it because you're worrying about lube and baby oil instead of worrying about the fact that these folks are caking off at your expense. The reason that they have a Drake versus Kendrick Lamar beef is so that you don't pay attention to what Abercrombie and Fitch C-suite did to a bunch of kids, allegedly. But now they're not fit to stand trial. The reason that we're focused on baby oil and lube and not focused on the fact that we don't know where the Epstein files went to is because they know that you've got a short attention span. I'm going to need you to start picking up some books, whether it's this one or another one, and read and study and find out where the money is. And we need to start divesting from anything we do not own, operate, and control fully. I'm not saying we can't have partnerships, but those partnerships need to come with some gatekeeping and some parameters, and we've done a horrible job about that. And by the way, that goes for Afro beats, that goes for soca, that goes for dancehall, that goes for traditional reggae, that goes for reggae fusion. It goes for every single black art form where we don't own the company. And before you say, well, there are people who look like us who own the label. Owning a label is like bragging that you're the skinniest kid at fat camp. You ain't really doing too much, homeboy. You think you are, but you ain't. You need to make sure you own your stuff. Do you ever notice how we don't own anything in the hood? Okay, let's let's math this out real quick and then I'm going to leave. Carrot one. Okay, cool. Here we go. If there is no money in the hood, and we know for a fact that McDonald's is the largest land mass owning corporation on the face of the planet, why are there so many McDonald's in the hood? Because McDonald's is a profit center. They're not going to go to places where there's no money. Oh, that's not enough for you? No problem. Same applies for Dunkin' Donuts. Same applies for Chick-fil-A. The same applies for gas stations. The same applies for Chinese restaurants. You are arguably at least 25 years old watching this. Show me the Chinese restaurant commercial you've seen. Panda Express is not Chinese food. But even then, I don't even think I've seen a Panda Express commercial. Maybe because I'm in Philly, I don't know. But regular Chinese food, you've never seen a TV commercial for a Chinese place in your life. Yet and still there's one in every hood. Right? Korean fried chicken. Every hood. They may call it different things, but it's in every hood. Why is it that there's all of these profit centers in the hood if the hood is not in fact a profit center? Let that wash over you. Why is it that you have people who call themselves gangsters fighting over blocks they don't own? Don't worry, let that wash over you. Talk amongst yourselves. If we did not have value, they would not be rushing to own us. If there was no value, why is it that they have sold black people on moving out of the hood and in the suburbs while they're moving into the hood, and we get mad and call it gentrification? Talk amongst yourselves. You got to realize the wool that is being pulled over your eyes in front of your face. They are playing in your face and you're allowing it. And I know somebody say, well, it's not that simple. What is? I mean, this is like an 8-minute segment. I could go deeper, and I did in the book, but you haven't picked it up yet at therealblackagenda.com. But Ice Cube's not wrong. The hood is a profit center. We're just not the ones profiting. We're the ones paying out because the black dollar only lasts 6 hours in black hands. The Asian dollar lasts 20 days. The Jewish dollar somewhere around 18. White Anglo-Saxon Protestant dollars last about 15 days. We last 6 hours because we're going to put white labels on black bodies, not realizing that white people have been white labeling blackness this entire time. If you've got a question for Ask Dave Anderson, you can always email me, Dave at Business Bully Show. Comment, rate, and subscribe, and make sure you stay tuned for more right here on I Never Knew TV.